Today on Retirement for Life podcast, we're talking about trusts, when you need a trust. A lot of people ask, can I have a trust? And I say, you don't need one. A lot of people actually that don't have a trust need one. Today we're going to cover those that need a trust, what the differences are between some of the trusts, and really explain some actual examples of when a trust makes the most sense. Today on the Retirement for Life podcast show, the show that does retirees and soon-to-be retirees justice. We're going to make it fun. Can we make an episode about trust interesting?
I think so.
We're going to. Let's get started.
Retirement for Life, your passport to a comfortable and confident retirement. The podcast that's equal parts education and entertainment, where we break down the retirement maze with a dash of fun and a heap of wisdom from your host, Christian Sear CPA, the passionate retirement specialist and president of Sear Financial Wealth Advisors, the independent registered investment advisor specializing in the AIM retirement system.
Okay, let's just start with a brief overview of a trust, what it is.
Okay, a trust will dictate what happens to your assets, what happens to your stuff when you're gone. Okay, we'll talk about a will later. It's much like a will in that you're basically saying who gets what when I die. It directs traffic. You're basically saying, I want to control the assets from the grave, and I want the assets to be directed appropriately after I'm gone. That's what a trust does, very simply.
So there's two basic types of trusts, the irrevocable and the revocable. Let's start with the irrevocable and discuss, what that is.
So revocable trusts are what we're going to talk about today, but irrevocable trusts have very specific purposes. Number one, I don't want the state to take my money because I'm going to go into a nursing facility or something like that. We talked about that in episode 9. I don't usually advise that people give everything they have to an irrevocable trust on the chances that they might go into a nursing care home. If you want to hear more about that, I would go back to episode 9 and listen to that episode. The second thing that irrevocable trusts I found are very good at is protecting you from estate taxes, not income taxes, estate taxes. But as you know, right now the current exemption is like $13 million for a couple. So you're talking about people with a lot of wealth may possibly use an irrevocable trust to reduce those estate taxes or possibly eliminate them.
Right.
But that's not what we're talking about today.
Right.
So let's flip the coin and look at revocable trusts. What can those do for you?
Yeah. So revocable trusts are where you're directing what happens to your assets when you've passed. You've assigned a trustee, someone that you trust that will direct what's happening with your assets when you're gone.
Yep. What's going to happen to this stuff while I'm gone today? A year after I die, 10 years after I die, can be as long as you want.
Okay. Sounds great. So what can they not do for you?
Well, it doesn't protect your assets. People think if they get a trust, it'll protect their assets from the state.
If I get sued, nobody can take my stuff.
Yeah.
A revocable trust generally is not going to protect your assets from potential creditors, like Medicaid, like somebody suing you. It's also not going to reduce. A lot of people think, a trust is somehow tax beneficial. It is not. A revocable trust, if you have a revocable trust, that tax return is going to look exactly the same as if you had no trust at all. And in fact, in some cases, can actually be a little bit higher tax. And it cannot hold certain assets, right? A lot of our clients, what's their biggest asset that they have?
Their IRA, 401k.
Yeah. You're not putting your IRAs, your 401ks, you're not even putting those into your trust. So those are some of the basics. Can't protect you from being sued, somebody taking your assets because you're a creditor. You can't save income taxes, and you're basically not going to put, in a lot of cases, your most valuable assets into the trust. Those are some of the features of a revocable trust.